You were never enough for me, Denzel. You were boring. You were safe. Robert made me feel alive again. Those words hit me like bullets as I stood in our bedroom doorway, roses wilting in my hand, our 5th anniversary forgotten in the space between her confession and my shattered heart. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this really started, to the moment I became a ghost in my own home. My name is Denzel Richards, and I'm about to tell you how I destroyed the two people I trusted most in this world. But here's what you need to understand first. I wasn't always this calculating. 5 years ago, I was a different man, the kind who believed in love, loyalty, and the goodness of people. My grandfather, Thomas Richards, changed everything when he died and left me $40 million with one condition written in his will: don't tell anyone until you're certain they love you, not your money. He'd watched his own children tear each other apart over his fortune while he was still alive. He wanted me to find something real, so I became invisible. I drove a 2012 Honda Civic with a dented bumper. I worked as a mid-level accountant at Morrison & Associates, pulling in a modest $68,000 a year. I lived in a decent but unremarkable 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. And when I met Susan Chun at a coffee shop in 2019, she fell in love with Denzel the accountant, not Denzel the millionaire. Or so I thought. The afternoon I came home early, I'd left work at 3:30, excited about surprising her. I'd made reservations at Marcello's, the expensive Italian place she'd been hinting about for months. The kind of place that would stretch our budget, but that I could easily afford. I was playing the role perfectly. Loving husband working hard to give his wife little luxuries. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Her car was there, and so was Robert's silver Audi. Robert Drake, my best friend of 2 years, the guy who'd been there for me after my real best friend, Marcus, died in that car accident. Robert, who came to our house for poker nights, who Susan cooked dinners for, who I trusted with my life. I heard the laughter before I reached the stairs. Susan's voice, high and breathy. Then his low, intimate, the kind of tone you don't use with your friend's wife. My hand found my phone, muscle memory from years of working in private security, making me document first, react second. Because that's the other thing nobody knew, I wasn't really an accountant. That was just my cover. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. I crept up the stairs, each step deliberate, silent. Training I'd picked up from running Sentinel Solutions, my private security firm that specialized in corporate espionage prevention and surveillance systems for Fortune 500 companies. The irony wasn't lost on me. I installed cameras to catch thieves, and now I was about to catch the two biggest thieves in my life stealing something far more valuable than money. The bedroom door was cracked open. Through my phone screen, I captured 47 seconds of footage. Susan's hair spread across our pillows, Robert's hand on her back, their bodies tangled in the sheets I'd bought from that overpriced boutique because she said Egyptian cotton made her feel luxurious. Every angle was clear, every face identifiable, every betrayal documented in 4K clarity. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream. I backed away with the same precision I'd used to approach, got in my car, and sat in the driver's seat staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. Susan, working late, baby. Don't wait up, red heart. That heart emoji. That fucking heart emoji. I typed back, take your time. Then I opened my laptop and created a document titled Destroy Them Both. But I didn't write anything in it yet. I was thinking about my grandfather's other piece of advice, the one he gave me right before the cancer took him. Denzel, when someone shows you who they really are, don't get angry. Get smart. Anger makes you stupid. Intelligence makes you dangerous. For 2 weeks, I became the perfect husband. I brought Susan breakfast in bed, her favorite avocado toast with poached eggs, the kind she'd Instagram with captions about how blessed she was. I complimented every outfit, every hairstyle, every mundane thing she did. I took her to Bernard's, the French restaurant downtown where a meal costs $300, watching her eyes light up while she had no idea I could buy the entire restaurant without denting my accounts. But I also studied Robert harder. I invited him over for poker nights, cracking beers with him while I memorized his tells, not just in cards but in lies. The way his left eye twitched when he was being dishonest. How he touched his neck when he was nervous. The slight pause before he answered questions about his past. Susan's been different lately. I mentioned casually one night, dealing cards. Happier. Like she's got a secret. Robert's beer paused halfway to his mouth. Just for a second. But I saw it. Maybe she's planning a surprise for you, man, he said, recovering smoothly. Anniversary coming up, right? Already passed, I said, watching him. She forgot it. His face did something interesting then, a flash of guilt mixed with satisfaction. Like he was sorry for me, but pleased with himself. That's when I knew this wasn't just physical. He was enjoying taking what was mine. That night after Robert left, I installed 5 military-grade cameras in my own bedroom. The same Phantom X surveillance system I designed for a Wall Street executive who suspected his business partner of corporate espionage. Motion-activated, night vision-capable, audio enhancement that could pick up a whisper from across the room. I also placed GPS trackers on both their cars and installed keystroke loggers on Susan's laptop. The one she thought was password protected, but that I'd built for her last Christmas with a backdoor only I knew about. 3 days later, I sat in Mr. Chen's office on the 42nd floor of the Berkshire Tower, watching the city stretch out below me like a game board I was about to flip. Chen had been my wealth manager since my grandfather's death, the only person outside of lawyers who knew the truth about my fortune. I need to activate everything, I told him, sliding a folder across his mahogany desk. All the offshore accounts, the trusts, the investment portfolios. Everything dormant needs to go live. Chen's weathered face went pale. He'd been managing fortunes for 30 years and rarely showed emotion, but this made him pause. Denzel, that's $40 million spread across 12 accounts in 6 countries. Activating everything simultaneously will create a massive paper trail. Your anonymity will be compromised. The IRS will be notified. Your wife will. My wife will see exactly what she threw away. I interrupted. That's the point. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. What happened? I didn't answer directly. Instead, I opened my phone and showed him a photograph I'd taken from my bedroom camera feed 3 nights ago. Susan and Robert, post-coital, her head on his chest, both of them laughing at something on his phone. Chen's jaw tightened. I'm sorry, he said quietly. How long? At least 4 months, based on the credit card statements I've pulled. Maybe longer. I discovered that part 2 nights ago when I'd hacked into her email. She'd been using a secret credit card, one of those high-limit cards you get offers for in the mail, to book hotel rooms. The Grandview Inn, the Riverside Suites. Sometimes just afternoon visits, sometimes overnight stays when I was supposedly on business trips for Morrison & Associates. The business trips that didn't actually exist because I owned my own company and could work from anywhere. Chen began typing on his computer. This will take 48 hours to complete. Once it's done, those funds will be visible in joint account overviews if she has access to. She doesn't. Yet. I leaned forward. But I'm going to give her access in exactly 2 weeks. I want her to see it. I want her to understand what she could have had if she'd just loved me instead of whatever the hell Robert is giving her. While Chun processed the paperwork, I checked my phone. The audio recorder I'd placed in Robert's Audi had transmitted something interesting that morning. I pulled up the file and listened through my earbuds. Susan's voice, breathy and excited. He's taking me to Bernard's again tonight. God, I feel so guilty lying to him. Robert's response, then don't lie. Leave him. Come be with me. Pause. Longer than it should have been. Susan, I want to. I do. But Denzel and I have nothing saved. He barely makes enough to cover the mortgage. If I leave, I'll be starting from zero. Robert's laugh was cold, calculated. Baby, love isn't about money. Another pause. Susan, easy for you to say. You have that new Audi, those designer suits. You're doing well. Robert, I'm doing okay. But we'd figure it out together. I'd stop the recording there, but I'd heard enough. Susan wasn't just cheating because of passion or excitement or whatever bullshit reason cheaters tell themselves. She was staying with me for financial security while getting emotional and physical fulfillment from Robert. I was her safety net, and he was her adventure. The rage that filled me in that moment wasn't hot. It was ice cold, crystallizing into something sharp and purposeful. Chun printed out the final documents. Sign here, here, and here. In 48 hours, you'll have full access to everything. What are you planning to do with it? I signed each page with steady hands. I'm going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. And then I'm going to pull the lever. That same afternoon, I drove to Margaret Voss's office. She was one of my oldest clients at Sentinel Solutions, a prosecutor who'd hired me 5 years ago to install security systems in her home after a defendant she'd convicted made threats. Over the years, we developed a mutual respect. She knew about my real business, my capabilities, everything except the money. I showed her Robert's photo. Her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. That's Robert Mendez. I sent him to prison in 2016 for embezzling $300,000 from his mother's textile business. He served 18 months, got out early for good behavior, changed his last name to Drake. My blood went cold. His mother, Margaret, pulled up a file on her computer. Linda Mendez. She lost everything. The business, her house, her savings. She has early onset Alzheimer's now. Lives in Oakwood nursing home on state assistance. He destroyed her life and never looked back. I thought about the way Robert laughed at my house, ate my food, betrayed my trust. This wasn't just about Susan. This was about who he fundamentally was, a predator who consumed people and moved on. Is she coherent enough to understand what happened? I asked. Sometimes. She has good days and bad days. I want to pay off everything he stole from her. With interest, $300,000 becomes $600,000 after inflation and emotional damages. Can you help me find her care facility? Margaret studied me. What's your angle here? My angle is that the man who destroyed his own mother is now destroying my marriage. And I'm going to make sure every single person he's ever hurt gets justice. She wrote down the address. You're going scorched earth. They started the fire, I said. I'm just making sure it burns hot enough that nothing survives. My phone buzzed as I left Margaret's office. Unknown number. I know what your wife is doing. I have more proof. Meet me. Java House for PM. I should have been suspicious, but my security training made me curious. I ran the number through my databases, burner phone, purchased 3 days ago at a convenience store in North Portland. Someone who knew how to stay hidden. At Java House, a young woman sat in the corner booth, mid-20s, with dark circles under her eyes and hands that shook slightly around her coffee cup. She looked up as I approached, and I saw the same expression I'd been wearing for 2 weeks, betrayed, angry, determined. Denzel Richards? She asked. Who are you? Emily Carter. Robert's ex-fiancée from 3 years ago. She slid a manila folder across the table. He destroyed my life. Cost me $50,000, my job, my reputation. I've been tracking him ever since. Inside the folder, photographs of Robert with different women over the past 3 years. Bank statements showing a pattern of deposits. $8,000 here, $12,000 there, always from different women's accounts. Email screenshots where Robert discussed seducing married women as part of some kind of scheme. What is this? I asked, though pieces were already clicking together. Robert targets successful men with attractive wives. He befriends the husband, seduces the wife, gets money from her under various pretenses, helping with bills, investment opportunities, emergency situations, then disappears once the marriage implodes or the money dries up. Your wife is number 7 that I know of. My hands tightened on the folder. Susan's been giving him money. Check her accounts. I guarantee she has been. That night, I used my access to pull Susan's complete financial records. What I found made my stomach turn. A secret credit card opened 8 months ago. Current balance, $238,000. Monthly payments barely covering interest. And transfers, $3,000 monthly going to an account registered to RD Consulting. Robert Drake. I scrolled through the charges. Hotel rooms I'd never stayed in. Jewelry I'd never seen her wear. Expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never visited together. Gifts for him, paid for with debt that would eventually drown us both. But there was more. I found emails between Susan and Robert from 6 months ago. Susan, I maxed out another card. I don't know what to do. Robert, I told you, baby, I can help. Just need a little time to get my investments liquid. In the meantime, maybe get one more card? Just to tide us over. Susan, I'm scared Denzel will find out. Robert, he's an accountant. When's the last time he checked anything? You're fine. The next email, 3 days later. Susan, got approved for $50,000 limit. Should I? Robert, do it. We deserve this. We, as if they were a team. As if my wife and my best friend were building something together on the corpse of my trust. I called Emily. You were right. $238,000 in debt. He's been coaching her to open more credit lines. That's his pattern. He convinces them they're investing in a shared future. Then he ghosts them once the money stops flowing. I lost my job because of the debt he pushed me into. How did you find me? I've been following his social media. Saw your wife's posts. Recognized the pattern. She paused. I want to help you destroy him. Why? Because he needs to stop, and you have resources I didn't have. What makes you think I have resources? She laughed bitterly. Because you're still standing. Most of his victims are broken by now. I spent 3 days planning the perfect trap. First, I orchestrated a fight with Susan about the debt, but only the credit cards I was supposed to find, not all of them. $238,000, Susan. I shouted, waving statements I printed. My anger wasn't faked. How could you hide this from me? She crumpled, tears streaming. I have a problem. I'll fix it. I'll get help. We can't afford this. I'm just an accountant. We'll have to sell the house. Maybe file bankruptcy. She sobbed harder, and part of me, the part that remembered loving her, wanted to hold her. But I thought about Robert's hands on her body and kept my distance. That night, she called Robert. I listened through the bug in her phone. Denzel found out about the debt. He's furious. He says we might lose everything. Robert's voice was smooth, practiced. Leave him. Come to me. We'll figure it out together. But you said you didn't have much money. I'll make it work for us. I love you. The next day, I met with Chun again. Transfer $5 million into the joint account. I want Susan to see it. That's insane. She'll think. Exactly. She'll think my family died, or I got an inheritance, or something lucky happened. And she'll want half of it in the divorce she's about to file. Chun stared at me. You're baiting her. I'm showing her true colors. Robert's too. Once they see that money, their greed will override any remaining caution. 48 hours later, Susan checked our bank account and screamed. I heard it from the garage where I was pretending to work on the car. She called Robert immediately. There's $5 million in our account. Robert's pause was beautiful. What? $5 million? Denzel's family must have died or something. Don't say anything. Wait until after the divorce. And it's half yours. That's $2.5 million, Robert. We could disappear together. File tomorrow. Every word recorded. Every plan documented. Susan filed for divorce 3 days later. She walked into the courthouse with her bargain bin lawyer, thinking she was about to become a millionaire. I played my role perfectly, devastated husband, begging for another chance. Please, Susan, we can work through this. It's over, Denzel. Her voice was cold, final. Robert watched from across the street, smoking a cigarette, already planning their future with my money. That evening, I invited everyone to Bernard's private event room. Susan's parents, Robert's co-workers from the marketing firm where he claimed to work, our mutual friends, Emily. 50 people total. I told Susan it was a goodbye dinner to honor our marriage properly. She came dressed in a new outfit, one I recognized from her credit card statements. Robert showed up separately, playing it cool. Thank you all for coming, I announced, voice breaking perfectly. Susan has asked for a divorce, and I want to honor her decision properly. Then I dimmed the lights and started the projector. The bedroom footage played first, crystal clear, unmistakable. Susan's gasp echoed through the silent room. Robert tried to bolt, but my security team blocked the exits. Wait, I said calmly. There's more. Audio recordings. Robert laughing about easiest $12,000 yet. Robert coaching Susan to get more credit cards. Robert telling someone on the phone, she's desperate. This one's going to be good for at least $200,000 before I ghost. Margaret Voss stood up from the crowd. I'm the prosecutor who sent Robert Mendez to prison 9 years ago for stealing from his own mother. His real name isn't Drake. It's Mendez. And I'm reopening investigations based on new evidence of serial fraud. Robert's face went white. Susan's mother was screaming. Her father started toward Robert, but my security held him back. The $5 million Susan saw. I continued. That's my money. From my security company and my inheritance. She married a millionaire and never knew it. Because I wanted someone who loved me, not my bank account. Susan collapsed into a chair, realization washing over her. Robert's been running this scam for years, I said. Emily Carter, come tell your story. Emily stood, hand steady now. She told them everything. Court day arrived with the weight of inevitability. Susan sat with her lawyer, a different one now, since her first had quit after seeing the evidence. She looked smaller, somehow diminished. My attorney, Catherine Morrison, was a predator in a tailored suit. She'd represented CEOs in billion-dollar divorces. For her, this case was target practice. Your Honor, Catherine began, we have documented evidence of adultery, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted theft of marital assets. She presented everything. The videos, the audio recordings, the money trail showing Susan's transfers to Robert, the emails planning to take half of the $5 million. The judge reviewed the evidence with a stone face. Mrs. Richards, did you knowingly enter into a relationship with Mr. Drake while married? Yes, but Did you knowingly transfer marital funds to Mr. Drake? He said he needed. Did you knowingly plan to file for divorce in order to claim half of assets you believed your husband had recently acquired? Susan's silence was answer enough. The judge's ruling was swift. Denzel Richards retains full ownership of all assets. Susan Richards receives nothing. Marriage dissolved. But the real show was Robert's hearing. Margaret prosecuted personally. She brought Emily to testify. Then 2 other women. Then a 4th. Each told identical stories. Robert befriending their husbands, seducing them, extracting money, disappearing. The total documented fraud across 4 victims amounts to $387,000, Margaret stated. Add Mr. Richards' wife's debt of $238,000 that Mr. Mendez encouraged, and we're looking at over $600,000 in damages. Robert's public defender looked defeated before he started. The judge sentenced Robert to 6 years in state prison. As they led him away in handcuffs, Robert looked at me. You destroyed my life. No, I said quietly. I just documented what you'd already done. Outside the courthouse, Susan tried to chase me down. Denzel, please. I have nothing. I'll be homeless. I turned, studied the woman I'd once loved. She looked genuinely broken, not manipulatively, but deeply, truly shattered. You should have thought about that before, I said. Emily stepped forward then. Actually, I have an offer. Susan looked at her with confusion. I run a nonprofit, Emily explained. It helps women who've been financially abused by predators like Robert. I need someone who understands the pattern from the inside. Someone who can counsel other women and tell her story as a warning. I don't understand. I'm offering you a job. Minimum wage. You'll work with victims. You'll be honest about your mistakes. It's a chance at redemption. Susan looked at me. Why would you allow this? Because I loved who I thought you were, I said. This gives you a chance to become that person. 3 weeks later, I visited Robert in prison. He looked hollow, smaller in his orange jumpsuit. Why, he asked. You could have just divorced her. You weren't just stealing my wife. Emily showed me 7 other families you destroyed. I made sure all of them got restitution from your seized assets. I'm rotting here for 6 years. You're getting mercy. I could have pushed for 20. I leaned closer to the glass. But I wanted you alive to see what happens next. What happens next? Check the news in 3 days. His face showed the first flash of fear I'd seen. Outside the courthouse, Susan tried to chase me down. Denzel, please. I have nothing. I'll be homeless. I turned, studied the woman I'd once loved. She looked genuinely broken, not manipulatively, but deeply, truly shattered. You should have thought about that before, I said. Emily stepped forward then. Actually, I have an offer. Susan looked at her with confusion. I run a nonprofit, Emily explained. It helps women who've been financially abused by predators like Robert. I need someone who understands the pattern from the inside. Someone who can counsel other women and tell her story as a warning. I don't understand. I'm offering you a job. Minimum wage. You'll work with victims. You'll be honest about your mistakes. It's a chance at redemption. Susan looked at me. Why would you allow this? Because I love who I thought you were, I said. This gives you a chance to become that person. 3 weeks later, I visited Robert in prison. He looked hollow, smaller in his orange jumpsuit. Why, he asked. You could have just divorced her. You weren't just stealing my wife. Emily showed me 7 other families you destroyed. I made sure all of them got restitution from your seized assets. I'm rotting here for 6 years. You're getting mercy. I could have pushed for 20. I leaned closer to the glass. But I wanted you alive to see what happens next. What happens next? Check the news in 3 days. His face showed the first flash of fear I'd seen. Scene 11, the redemption arc. 3 days later, every major outlet ran the story. Tech security mogul donates $10 million to fraud victim recovery fund. My face was everywhere. The company I'd hidden for years, Sentinel Solutions, was revealed as a multi-million-dollar success. Articles detailed my net worth, my innovations in security technology, my grandfather's inheritance. Susan watched from her tiny studio apartment, the only place she could afford on nonprofit wages. She saw the man she'd betrayed, the fortune she'd thrown away for a con artist's lies. Robert watched from his cell, understanding too late that the boring accountant he'd underestimated was worth $40 million. But my real move was quieter. I paid off Susan's entire $238,000 debt anonymously through Emily's nonprofit. One condition: she had to work there for 5 years, helping other women avoid her mistakes. Why help her? Emily asked when I told her. Because destruction isn't the same as justice. She made terrible choices, but Robert manipulated her. She deserved a chance to rebuild. And Robert gets exactly what he deserves. Watching everyone move on while he counts down 6 years in a cage. 6 months passed. I focused on expanding Sentinel Solutions internationally. I went to therapy, Dr. Patricia Chun, who specialized in betrayal trauma. I learned that being calculating didn't mean being heartless, and that forgiveness didn't require reconciliation. One afternoon at Morrison Cafe, a woman dropped her book. I picked it up, The Art of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. Thank you, she said, and our eyes met. She had kind eyes, honest eyes. I'm Maya, she said. Denzel. Like the actor? I laughed, actually laughed. Like the actor. Scene 12, The New Beginning. 1 year after the divorce, I was thriving in ways I'd never imagined. Sentinel Solutions had expanded to 12 international offices. Forbes ran a feature on me, the millionaire who lived like a middle-class accountant. It became a case study in humility and intentional living. Maya, the woman from the cafe, became my girlfriend after 3 months of careful dating. She was a trauma therapist who'd survived her own betrayal years ago. She knew everything about Susan and Robert. I'd told her on our 3rd date, expecting her to run. Instead, she'd said, you could have destroyed them completely, but you chose where to stop. That's the difference between revenge and justice. Susan was 2 years into her nonprofit work. She'd written me a letter I kept in my desk drawer. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm becoming someone I can respect. Thank you for not destroying me, just my delusions. The women I help now, they remind me of who I almost became permanently. You saved my life by ruining it. I never responded. Some bridges should stay burned. Robert was denied early parole. His mother, Linda, had recovered enough from her Alzheimer's to remember him and what he'd done. I'd arranged for her to visit once. Through the prison glass, she'd slapped the phone against the partition and walked away without a word. She never returned. The money I'd given her, $600,000 plus a trust fund for her care, meant she lived out her remaining years in comfort. She sent me a thank you card once. You're the son I should have had. Emily's nonprofit expanded to 5 cities. She'd found her calling, turned her pain into purpose. We had lunch monthly, comparing notes on healing and moving forward. One evening, Maya and I were cooking dinner when she asked, do you ever regret it? Any of it? I thought about the question carefully. I regret trusting the wrong people. I regret not seeing the signs earlier, but destroying them. I shook my head. No, they destroyed themselves. I just held up a mirror. That's very zen for a man who orchestrated one of the most calculated revenge plots I've ever heard of. Therapy helps, I grinned. My phone buzzed. A message from Emily with a photo attached. Susan helping a crying woman at the nonprofit, genuinely present, genuinely caring. Caption: she's actually good at this. Thought you'd want to know. I showed Maya. Redemption's real. So, is new love? She said, kissing my cheek. I filed the photo away and closed that chapter of my life forever. The past had taught me that trust is earned, love is precious, and sometimes the best revenge is building something beautiful from the ashes of what tried to destroy you. 6 months later, I proposed to Maya on the same cliff where my grandfather had told me about the inheritance years ago. She said yes without knowing my net worth. She said yes knowing my scars. She said yes because she loved me, just me. And that finally was enough.